is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
So you run a 3-yard out on 3rd and 5, and you run out of. Then never mind. We'll talk about that later. We'll touch on clinches. We'll touch on streaks being snapped, and we'll touch on more. This is Total Football Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the 67th edition of Total Football Talk. News, football talk, and gridiron action just the way you like it. I'm one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the mad scientist, and what's that phrase that Drew likes to say? Oh, yeah, the EP of all EPs. And I am joined, as always, by the other host of this program. You may know him as Mr. In or Out Sports Debate. You may know him as Mr. Commander's Gridiron Report. You also may know him as Mr. D. Willie in the evening. That's right. The one, the only, D. Willie, or Drew Willingham. How you doing, my brother?
Formerly a sensei, now back on the air with my man today. I missed being on the air with him last week. Technical difficulties kept me off the air, but now we are back to talk some mother-fathering football.
Well, I am glad that you are here. It actually feels like the show. But yeah, you were thoroughly missed. But look, you did a great job in your rendition of how things were last week as well. So got a chance to catch that. And of course, if you all don't, definitely watch it. But that's last week. We're talking about this week, and this week it is opening drive time.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Break.
And so we have come to the last set of buys. That's right. So the games that we're reviewing this week, you will not see a game that features the Colts, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Ravens, and the Texans. That's right. Indianapolis, Denver, New England, Washington, Baltimore, and Houston, you will not hear from them until later on this program because they are on the bye. But the other 26 teams weren't. Of course, we won't touch on all the games as you can catch on what happened for this week, Thursday, and past Monday as well on Total Football Talk Extra. But for now, we're going to touch on the Sunday games that we saw yesterday. Let me see. Where should we begin? Oh, yeah. Let's begin with this toilet bowl of a matchup between the Falcons and the Vikings. And I say it this way because the Falcons, they were 6-3 coming to the middle of November, and they have been 0-4 since. And speaking of Kirk Cousins. He's been 0 for throwing a touchdown pass in the past 4 games as well. He did not throw a touchdown pass in this game. 42-21 was the final score. What's so messed up was, as the Falcons have lost their 4th straight, they were actually tied with the Vikings at 21 going into the 4th quarter. But this game does not belong to the foibles of one Kirk Cousins. It belongs to the exploits of one Sam Darnold. We will definitely say this is the best game he has played as a pro. It's like he channeled being in USC again. 22-28, 347 yards, and not 1, not 2, 3, or 4, but 5 touchdown passes. And also, he carried the ball 4 times for 7 yards. But that stat right there, wonderful performance from Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones, who he didn't give us a lot of yards on the ground, 32 carries, 73 yards with a touchdown on the ground. Yeah, he did mix up a little bit, 2 receptions for 11 yards, but the offensive output really wasn't from him. It was from Jordan Addison with 8 receptions, 133 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions, 132 yards, and the other 2 touchdown passes received him from Sam Darnold throwing. But the defense, they did okay. Josh Metellus and Byron Murphy Jr. each received a pick of Kirk Cousins. Now, with those 2 interceptions, he also threw 23 of 37 for 344 yards. And again, this is the 4th game in a row where Cousins has not thrown a touchdown, but he has thrown interceptions. Wasted a decent performance from Bijan Robinson, 22 carries, 92 yards on a touchdown on the ground. He also had 2 carries for 9 yards. 2 receptions for 9 yards. And that paced the way for the Falcons offense to get 158 yards on the ground. And Darnell Mooney, having 6 receptions for 142 yards. And Ray McLeod III, 8 receptions, 98 yards. He also had a carry and 3 yards. And then you had the Falcons defense, who did put Darnold onto the turf 4 times. Good performances from the Falcons, but wasted by the Kirk Cousins performance. How did you view this Vikings going away in the 4th quarter victory in the Twin Cities?
Statistically, the Falcons should have won this game, but it's like you had brought up stats, over the past month for Kirk Cousins and, his turnover ratio in comparison to touchdowns. He is the reason why they are on the skids that they have been this season. And, it's like you said, looking at this game through the 3rd quarter, the Falcons still had a chance to win this game because it was tied up at 21 at the end of 3. So going into the 4th, when you gave up 3 touchdowns to this team, one on the ground, by Aaron Jones. You also look at, the other 2 touchdowns that you had by Jordan Addison, an 11-yard pass reception, and another one was a 6-yard reception. Big touchdowns that they gave up in the 4th quarter. This Falcons team is in trouble this season, not only to make a playoff run, but to make that contract that they had signed Kirk Cousins to a complete bust at this point, because they are 6-7. The amount of money, even though it is a team-friendly contract overall in comparison to some other long-term contracts, this team, brought him in here to not go 6-7 through 13 games. With 4 games left, I don't think you're going to win 4 straight games, in my opinion, and finish 10-7. You are in trouble. And when you have a Vikings team that comes into this game that was already red hot at 10-2, now finishing 11-2, you're up there with the teams like the Chiefs and the Lions for, best in the league. And we've been talking very highly of the Vikings for the majority of this season. And that goes to show why when you see a 5-touchdown performance by Sam Darnold on only 6 incompletions with no turnovers. I mean, that's absolutely huge. In comparison to the 2 teams, when you, like I was saying statistically when I first started my spiel, when you look at the numbers, you would think based on the rushing yards, the passing yards, the time of possession, that this Falcons team was going to win this game, especially when you're looking at it through 3 quarters. But when you get through into the 4th quarter and you see how it just all fell apart, it's understandably so why this Falcons team is at 6-7 at this point.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. This team looked like they were going to be jostling for the number 2 seed. And now they're fighting for their playoff lives. Yes, and you mentioned their record. They now are 6-7, and we'll touch on the team that supplanted them for NFC South supremacy in the next game we will highlight. The Vikings 11-2. Now, raise your hand. Who had the Vikings anywhere in this room? Who had the Vikings 11-2 coming into the middle of December? Show of hands. Nobody? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nobody thought this team was going to be 11-2. Nobody thought this defense was going to be the way they are. And even though this is not the best performance the defense has had, the defense has carried this team most of the way. But Sam Darnold, he's had these wonderful performances here and there, and it has now been punctuated by this performance yesterday. To me, the best in his NFL career to date. And if he can play like this, I think they still need a little help on the ground, though. But if he can play like this and the defense plays the way they can, they might be spoiler in NFC, and that is scary. That is scary. And the game that we're going to feature next will be in Tampa between the Buccaneers and the Raiders. Let's be honest, Buccaneers basically sleptwalked through this game, and they easily defeated the Raiders 28-13. Baker Mayfield, he up and down. I think that's the best way I could put it. 18-29, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he also threw a Jack Jones interception and a Kalavon Chason interception. 2 picks. But I'm not done. 2 carries, 12 yards. And Mr. Mayfield has to be more careful with the ball. He can't turn the ball over 3 times himself. But they still won. There you go. Rachaad White sighting. I did not know he was still on the team, actually. 17 carries, 9 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions for 19 yards and a receiving touchdown. But White, he paced away for the Buccaneers to gain 152 yards on the ground. And on defense, Tyke Smith, the Bucs, he also had a pick of one Aiden O'Connell. 11-19, 104 yards with that interception, 6 yards on 6 carries, a rushing touchdown, and and he unfortunately had to leave the game early as well. Desmond Ridder took his place. He was 12 of 18, 101 yards, 2 carries, 3 yards. You had Sincere McCormick, who did okay on the ground, 15 carries, 78 yards, 2 receptions with 11 yards. The Raiders defense, well, they were putting Mayfield on the ground. They put him down 4 times. Your thoughts on, I think the best way I could put it, an uneven but solid victory by the Buccaneers.
A lot nicer than I'm about to be, because this has been multiple weeks of this. You look at this game against the Raiders, you look at the game against the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
You could even argue a couple points during the Giants game. I mean, Bunker has been bunkering it up. Okay, he was saved in the previous game by Bucky Irving, because that's why he was my grand champ of the week last week. And this week, he was saved by Rachaad White, because you look at what was going on in the first quarter. In the first quarter, they scored 2 touchdowns. You had the 15-yard pass that Bunker threw to Jalen McMillan. They were up 7-0. Rachaad White then adds the 5-yard catch from Bunker to make it 14-0. At that point, the Buccaneers should not have had to look back, but they had to, because in the next quarter, the Raiders scored 2 times. They scored a 1-yard run by Aiden O'Connell, and yes, it was only a 25-yard field goal, but at halftime, it was a 1-possession game. They were only up by 4 points. Right. So, looking at it for what it is going into halftime, it was pretty close. But then I'd say in the third quarter, with nothing going on, we were like, they might be able to pull away if they get one more score. And that's what happened when Rachaad White took a 3-yard run in. It was 21-10. And then with 9 minutes left in the game, we didn't think the Raiders were going to come back, and they didn't. Overall, between the two teams, when you look at the numbers, the Buccaneers should have won, but they should have won by a little bit more than I think. It should have been a little bit more of a decisive victory, especially when you're facing Desmond Ridder and Aiden O'Connell in this game. And the highlight for the Raiders team was Sincere McCormick with 15 carries for 78 yards. So I can't really take this Buccaneers team seriously. I really can't. I mean, even at this point, when they still have a chance with a 7-6 record to not only make the playoffs, but to do something similar to what they did last year by get a win, maybe this year upgrade it to 2 wins. But when you think of them in that light and you see what they've been doing against some dumpster Pelican teams, I mean, the Raiders, the Panthers that are in their division, the Giants, the 49ers who have been playing like dumpster Pelicans this year, they have had a month straight of teams that they should have mollywopped, and they should be, not just winning, let's see, 1, 2. They should have won 4 straight games. And instead, they have won 3 straight, but they've barely been pulling them out against the past 2 games against teams that are going for the number 1 overall pick again, and that being the Raiders and the Panthers. So overall, if you're a Buccaneers fan, you should be happy that you're winning, and you should be counting your blessings that you're winning at the same time in comparison to the teams that you're winning against. Because by the time you get to the playoffs, you keep playing sloppy football like this, there is no way that you are going to get out of the first round. And keep playing like this over the course of the next month against some really good teams that you have to face, because you have to face the Chargers, the Panthers that are another division game again, and the Saints. And the Panthers are not good, but they are good when it comes to division football. And I'm going to say you've got a gimme game with the Cowboys, so you should win that one. But against the Chargers, I don't think you're going to win that game this upcoming weekend. And the Panthers and Saints are toss-ups because they're divisions. So you could potentially finish this season barely with a 500 record, barely over 500 with 8, or 8-9 again, like we've been seeing this Buccaneers team accustomed to when they've had what was it, last year they were 8-9 and made the playoffs, or was it the year before that?
That's right.
Yeah, so they were.
Oh no, it was the year before. They were 9-8 last year. Yeah.
Because they were one win better. Because I remember, they were 8-9 with Thomas, Edward, Patrick, Brady the second.
Right.
I haven't had a chance to say that in a while, but I said it now. But correct. You look at that, you look at the other teams that have done it with a record like that. Whether before, when it was 16 game seasons, it was 8-8. They statistically, historically, have not done well. So I'm really concerned for this Buccaneers team. I'm really concerned for the fans of this team, even the fair weather fake fans that joined this team and jumped from other teams when they weren't playing that well multiple years ago, just to be a fan of the Buccaneers team because, Tom Brady was on the team, and now he's gone. And what do you have? You have a bunker Stayfield who is out there bunkering up the past 2 weeks, and I absolutely love it.
Junior! Oh, Lord. Oh, I'm so sorry. These allergies, they just crop up every now and then. But yeah.
I've never seen an allergy wait for some silence.
Perceptive you are. I cannot agree with you more. The Bucs, I think they should have run the table this last 4 games. The fact they lost to the 49ers, they did rob the Giants, but it sort of seemed like a struggle to have the rout happen. And then, well, yeah, I know it's a divisional game, but still, it's the Panthers. You let the Packers take you to overtime, and then you sleepwalk through this game. Yeah, I want to say I really want to get behind this team because they do have the makings of a team that actually can compete for the playoffs and actually win a game or two. And they have this nucleus actually winning games in the playoffs. But the way that they have looked this last month, it just makes you say, and this is with them being 3-1 in this last 4 games. You're like, nah, this team might be 1-out. This team will have to luck up with the matchup because more than likely they will probably end up being the 4th seed, but then they will have to play a team. Not saying that the Lions will fall this far, but it's possible they could. But they would have to play the Lions or the Packers or the Vikings. They right now don't look like they match up all that well with any of those 3 teams. Maybe the Packers more than the other 2, but I would favor any of those 3 over the way the Bucs look now. And it is ridiculously bad that they look this way. And they have skated with victories. And of course, to boot, they now have their divisional rival in the Falcons tanking to help them out. But they've improved to 7-6. The Raiders, I'm not gonna mention the record they have. They're atrocious. They're atrocious. 2-11. Oh, good Lord. Before we continue, what is up, Sick? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening tonight. I hope everything's good with you this afternoon, sir. And I see the commercial. I'll read it a little later. And then, of course, we have to play this. Ladies and gentlemen.
We were long overdue.
Ladies and gentlemen of the TFT tribe, my two brothers and mentors, the big game hunter, a dumpster pelicans worldwide, Sensei Drew Willingham, and the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. Well, my brother was on the ball, but my thought process was, and this comes from the epic man of the Snowman and Morning Show, the man that is known as
Now, if it takes you another 6 weeks to show up, we're not clicking the button anymore.
Doggone, that's brutal.
It's brutal when you're not showing up. Because I've been clamoring to click the button for a while.
Man. Oh my goodness. So we go up to Philly, where the Eagles hosted the Panthers, and the Eagles made the Panthers actually look like, I don't know, they actually made them look like a contender. They actually were trailing in the fourth quarter and home to the Panthers before pulling it out 22-16. And many are pointing to Jalen Hurts with a pedestrian 14-21, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 8 carries for 59 yards and a rushing touchdown. But they were saying that, the Eagles are looking bad because Jalen Hurts looks horrible. That's up for you to debate. Saquon Barkley looks like he is on his way to try to eclipse the Eric Dickerson single season rushing mark. He had 20 carries for 124 yards. The Eagles offense, with that 124 yards from Barkley and 59 from Hurts on the ground, they chewed up 209 yards on the ground. So they didn't do much in the air, but on the ground they did a thing. For the Panthers, Bryce Young, 19 of 34, 191 yards. He had a touchdown and a C.J. Gardner-Johnson interception. He also ran the ball 7 times for 29 yards. Chuba Hubbard, well, he's trying to earn that contract he signed. 26 carries, 92 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He also had 4 receptions for 15. Adam Thielen, he led the way, actually in the game, 9 receptions for 102 yards. On defense, A'Shawn Robinson, he was the star, probably the star defensive player of the whole game. A tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits in the second half that paced the way for the Panthers to put Hurts to the ground 4 times. So, yes, good news is the Eagles clinched a playoff spot with this victory and their 11th win. The bad news is people are complaining that Jalen Hurts looks bad. Your thoughts on the Eagles' victory over the Panthers?
I support people's thoughts because I was thinking the same thing when looking at this game. They're trying to do what the Giants did, but much better when it comes to utilizing Saquon Barkley as the main piece of the offense, right? And they're doing a good job of that overall this season, but at some point you're going to run into a brick wall because you're going to run into a team that can stop the run. And you said it great when we first started this off, like made the Panthers look like a playoff team because they were hanging around with you throughout the majority of this game. I mean, this was pretty close. Jalen Hurts, I mean, we've been complaining about Patrick Mahomes kind of doing certain things this year with some small numbers.
Right.
But he hasn't even pulled out a win with just barely over 100 yards passing. I mean, collectively, as a whole team for the Eagles, because of you got to look at drops and yards with sacks or whatnot, they only had altogether 83 passing yards as a whole team.
That is
yes, and 209 rushing, which was on the back of Saquon. The Panthers had 2 more first downs than them. I mean, statistically, in a bunch of other areas, you could say that the Panthers deserved to win this game when you look at the fact that Eagles punted it away 4 times, and they allowed 4 sacks. So there's some issues going on with the offensive line. Both teams had 7 penalties for roughly the same amount, cost them about 40 to 43 yards. But the big decisive factor here was 2 turnovers by the Panthers. you have one with the interception by Bryce Young, and then you also had the other fumble as well. So with the fumble and an interception, that is what cost them the game. I would say the two big bright spots that kept the Panthers in this game were Chuba Hubbard was for one because he ran for nearly 100 yards, but also Adam Thielen with 9 receptions for 102 yards. He's been the spark for what the Panthers have done in this second half of the season, and they deserve to get the win here. They should be 4-9 today after what we saw. The Eagles made the playoffs. They clinched the playoff spot. Good for them, but the way they're playing from getting the quarterback play, you run into a team – at least by the second round that can do a really good job of stopping the run. And one of those two teams that I have a feeling that if you face in the playoffs, if you do make it to the NFC Championship, you're going to face them. The Lions can stop the run pretty well.
Right.
Okay. Yes. Especially if they get Aiden Hutchinson back, which there's a chance they might get him back by the NFC Championship game or by the latest, the Super Bowl. It's looking like he's coming back. Mm-hmm. Okay. You go up against the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship playing like that to where the only thing you have is a running game, you're going to lose. You go against the Vikings on a good day for them.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
They're going to stop
you. To a halt. Yeah.
Or at least hold Saquon. If you can hold Saquon to 75 yards or less, you have a chance of winning this game. And that should be anybody's mentality. Because if any team, even look at what the Panthers did, and they still allowed Saquon to get 124 yards. If they would have held him to 50 less yards, they would have won that game. Looking at the way that this other team was with getting first downs and the turnovers and the penalties. I mean, mainly the turnovers come from the Panthers. But anyway, the Jalen Hurts has got to do a better job at getting that ball out, because when you're only completing 2/3 of your passes, because he was 14-21, he completed 2/3 of his passes, which on paper we think that's pretty decent, especially if you play baseball and you get 3 hits out of 10 at bats, you're batting 300. Okay,
it's pretty good.
But 100, a little over 100 passing yards, that's suspect. That's a very, very suspect. And I would be concerned about the Eagles if I were a fan of this team, which thankfully I'm not. But if you are a fan of this team, you should be concerned, because the Giants tried to do exactly what you're doing and couldn't get anywhere. You do have some more pieces around you. You have better wide receiver help than Saquon's ever played with before. But you have a quarterback who's playing like he forgot what the playbook was at certain points. And he needs to do his 5-step drop, get the ball out in a good, quick amount of time, and they need to convert first downs, because it's not looking good for the Eagles right now. Even though they do have the amount of wins they do it this year, and they are 11-2. We were talking people are saying all this about how the Chiefs are winning games. I'd much rather be on the Chiefs right now than the Eagles, because collectively as a team, they are playing as a team.
Yes.
The Eagles look like they forgot what team they're on at certain points throughout a game until they barely get it through at the end.
You said a wonderful point in the middle of your analysis. If a team can hold Saquon to 75 yards, more than likely they can win. There is proof, and we were talking about the Buccaneers when they played the Bucs and the Eagles lost to them. Barkley rushed for 86 yards and got romped. So the proof is there. So just to buffer your point, you're correct. If a team can actually stop Barkley from gaining 100 yards and just sap the confidence that they can actually steal a game from running the ball, yeah, I agree with you. And I thought they were on their way last week when the Ravens had them down 9-0, because I thought, okay, I see the blueprint. They're going to try to force Hurt to win this game, but they salted away, and the physical nature of the Eagles got to the Ravens, wore them down, and then they dominated the game the rest of the way from the middle of the second quarter on. Now, what I love is we have people who love certain teams. Our man Dante, who is an Eagles fan, says, "What's up, guys? Hope everything is well." He says, "It was so frustrating, man, to watch this passing game." He said, "Yeah, it was a sloppy game, but it's just one game. All teams have a bad game. They will figure it out. Hey, look at the Commanders. We shut them down. and then they turn it around. That's true, but you look at this game against the Panthers yesterday. You look at last week, where did Hurts throw for 150 yards against the Ravens? I don't think so. And you're starting to see this pattern of, okay, so it looks like Hurts is on the pitch count. He might throw 20, 25 times a game. More than likely, he's going to run between 7 and 11 or 12 times a game. And that seems to be the formula. I'll round off a number. 23 or 24 throws, maybe about 8 or 9 runs, and the rest of the offense is Saquon Barkley. The problem with that, though, is you got a hungry wideout by the name of A.J. Brown who wants to see that ball come in his direction. And with his talent, and same thing with Devontae Smith, and even same thing with Dallas Goedert, I don't blame them.
So, to your point, when we were talking about what Dante was saying, in the last 4 games, you know, in the game yesterday, he had 108 yards. Week before that, he had 118 yards against the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
Week before that, he had 179 yards against the Rams. And the last time he threw for 200 plus yards was when he played the Commanders. And, you know, looking at this game, and this was in November. All right. I take them more seriously than the Commanders right now, because we were lucky to even see the Commanders have 8 wins at this point and double their win total, which don't get me started with that, because then we'll talk for the next 2 hours about that. But when it comes to this Eagles team, with the hype they've had since week 4, after Nick went off against the fans and they were calling for his job and all the other stuff that was going on. And then all of a sudden, once they started winning, and all the snowflakes started shutting up about Nick getting fired. But hey, you don't make it to the Super Bowl this year, you're going to be back on that bandwagon again, because it's either that or a new quarterback, because you can't sustain any type of consistent winning with quarterback play like this. I mean, he's not turning the ball over a lot. I give you that.
Right.
He's being safe with the football for the most part, because going into last night's game, Patrick Mahomes had 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and they are lucky to be where they're at in the win total, considering the turnover ratio for him in comparison to his stats of the past. But just because you have this golden goose right now running the football, he's gotten hurt before. And whether it's this year or next year, whether it's minor or severe, he's going to get hurt again. It's just historically proven for the running back position. And once you sustain one decent injury, it's a matter of time before another one comes about. I'm just being real. Whether it happens before the end of the season, during the playoffs, or at some point next year, it's coming, because he's also up there in age for running backs. And I'm not wishing this on him, but the way you're running him, it's going to happen. You're running him for 20 to 25 carries a game. That's a recipe for injury. So if you want to prove me wrong, run him less, get more production, and get better production out of your quarterback.
And I think that's where the rubber will have to meet the road, because Barkley's going to have to have those types of games from Hurts in order to just simply spell Saquon from actually carrying so much of the load of forget just the offense, the team. And then Dante saying, look, if they lose an AFC Championship game, Nick is gone. And I agree with you. I'm on record as saying the Eagles got to win the Super Bowl. Forget getting there, they got to win it. And if they stop short of that, say goodbye to Nick Sirianni. You're looking for a new head coach. And I also agree with you too. The microscope will be looked, especially with the Eagles fan, it's going to be looked squarely on the shoulders and the chest of number 1. They're going to be looking for Hurts. And if he sneezes wrong, if we thought that Santa Claus got booed in Philly, they will have nothing on Jalen Hurts when he throws the first interception, shots 25, after Nick Sirianni is gone. Because I just get the feeling you all going to heap that on him. And no matter how successful this season is, if you do not win the Super Bowl, Oh, I feel for Jalen Hurts. Because you all be like, this guy has to win it all, or he's got to go because he's not our quarterback. Not saying that's bad, but I'm saying that's just how your nature is.
It's going to be worse than when the Philly fans threw batteries at JD Drew.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for that reminder. But yes, the Panthers, they fall 3-10. Goodness gracious. Yeah, that was horrible. But congratulations to your Eagles, though, Dante. At 11-2, they clinched a playoff spot. And if I'm not mistaken, if they win next week against the Steelers, that means the Eagles will clinch the NFC East for the second time in 3 years. So you have that to look forward to.
That was a lie.
Because it's not going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Unless he throws for 250 plus yards.
Gosh, you are too much, man. Oh, Lord. Okay. So we travel about 100 miles northeastward and... This is definitely a do we really have to type of game. The Saints played the Giants. It was a horrible looking game from opening kickoff, the final gun. 14-11 was the final score. The Saints slept their way through a victory. Derek Carr, 20-31, 219 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. He also had 12 yards on 2 carries. Demario Davis and Jamal Williams each had a pick of Drew Lock. 21 of 49, not 29, not 39, 49. 227 yards. And those 2 picks I mentioned. He also had 5 carries for 59 yards. And the Saquon Barkley replacement, Tyrone Tracy Jr., 60 carries, 45 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He also had 5 receptions, for 38 yards. And then you had Trey Hawkins III with the aforementioned pick of Derek Carr. So in the game that was, I guess, that drummed up the most excitement of the head coach getting after the Saints head coach getting after his punter and the block field goal at the end. Your thoughts on the Saints' 14-11 victory over the Giants?
It looks pretty sad watching Alvin Kamara go out the way that he is because if he's the way some of his numbers have been this year, it looks like he's towards the end of his road as a running back in the NFL, unless he gets picked up by another team and can be utilized in a better way. This is supposed to be the centerpiece of their running attack, and it's not looking that way for them at this point. You talked about this was a snoozer at certain points. The Saints slept their way through this. I slept my way through the highlights. That's how it felt with watching this game. It was absolutely terrible, going back and forth. There was only 1 score per quarter, and it was literally Saints, Giants, Saints, Giants. But the Giants couldn't put up enough to match what the other team was doing, which is why they lost by 3 points. But, looking at both teams, except for the running game, things were pretty close overall as far as how things were. It was equally bad for both teams. But, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this game because it was so bad overall. But what I will say is at least neither one of these teams have a chance of making the playoffs this year. Regardless, the Saints are 5-8, and I guess you could say that they could win the last 4 games and have a positive record, but there's no way they're going to finish this out with the type of division they're in and win it or make the number 7th wild card spot. So you're just playing for bragging rights. At least you can say that against one of the worst teams in the NFL, you didn't lose, but you don't have much to brag about because you only won by a field goal.
Yeah, for them, it's division win or bust. And, of course, what also works against them, they've already split against the Panthers. They've already split against the Falcons. And they've already lost the game that they played at home against the Bucs. They end their season in Tampa. So the division record won't help them. It basically is they got to pray that the other teams in front of them collapse along with them winning out, or they're playing for next season. I agree with you. 5-8, it doesn't look promising for them. Speaking of not looking promising, it is 2-11 for the Giants. They're tanking for Shador.
If Prime let him go there.
Yes, if the father lets him go there.
The Mannings, they botched going to San Diego. It'd be funny if, 20 years later, it'd be 21, but 21 years later, you have another Hall of Fame family, steering away from the team that the Manning family went to, because with the current way this management is, I wouldn't want Shador going there. I'd rather him go to the Raiders over the Giants.
When you have bags over fans' heads and people actually spending money to have airplane messages saying sell the team, it's not looking good for the Mara family. Oh my gosh, people are not liking the Giants. Even Giants fans are not liking the Giants. Now that's real bad. Woo. All right, well, I would go on the Browns tangent because they look just as bad as the Giants do, but we're actually going to focus more on the Steelers because the Browns got into playing into Western Pennsylvania, and the Yinters put it on the Browns, avenging the loss in the Snow Globe 27-14, and the game really wasn't that close. Russell Wilson, really pedestrian performance, 15-26, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I will take that for sure. 6 carries to 17 yards on the ground for him as well. Cameron Hayward, who he showed why he is the captain of the squad. 3 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks of Jameis Winston, who was 24-41, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a James Pierre and a Keanu Benton interception. Not to be confused with Keanu Reeves, but I digress. He also had 4 carries, 28 yards. So with the team that was with no George Pickens and no TJ Watt, it was strictly no problem for the Steelers. What are your thoughts on this pretty smooth victory over the Browns?
I know you want to stick primarily with the Steelers for statistics in this game, but I at least want to show this. Please. Jameis has thrown 6 interceptions the last 3 games.
Mm-hmm. That has been.
He threw 2 in this game. He threw 3 in the game before that.
And 2 of them went for pick sixes. Yeah.
Yes, and then he threw an interception against the Steelers 2 weeks ago, because this is the second time they've played each other in a 2-week span. With 2 in the last 3 games, and I made Jameis my snowflake of the week last week for a reason, because of the amount of interceptions that he threw. And I didn't want to do it 2 weeks in a row, considering that he did it slightly better in this game than he did the week before. It is obvious that Jameis is basically settling himself as a career backup at this point. And he's basically been that way since he left Tampa Bay after the 2019 season. And it's not looking good for him, because this was Jameis's opportunity this year, with Deshaun Watson going down early enough to show the world that he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But when you throw 6 interceptions in the last 3 games, and 3 of them against the same team, in 2 of those games, it's not looking good for him at all. It's not looking good for this Browns team that is now 3-8 at this point. There's other teams with a worse record. You've got you've got when they were 3-8 at that point, when they lost the last game, but they are now 3-10. You're tied with the Jets. Okay, we've already been talking about how bad the Jets are this year. You're 3-10. It's bad for the Browns at this point. I mean, good for the Steelers. We've already been talking a lot of praise on Russell Wilson for what he's done. He's looking like the Russell Wilson of 10 years ago from when he was with the Seahawks. Somebody finally unlocked him, because he was definitely on a lockdown for the last half decade.
Thank you, Mike Tomlin.
Yes. So good on Mike Tomlin. Couldn't do it with Justin Fields quite yet. The project may be extended another year after this one, but for here and now, you can say the Steelers looking like they have a shot at making the Super Bowl. They definitely have a shot at making the AFC Championship, and the Browns are like a decade away from even sniffing the playoffs at this point. The way they keep playing, I feel good that I'm happy to see that Nick Chubb is back in there, still healthy and still playing. But his numbers are pedestrian in comparison to what he did before he got hurt. And the way this Browns team is playing, it's only a matter of time before that offensive line gets him hurt again. I cringe every single time I see him out there. I'm glad he's back on the NFL field, but he deserves better, and David Njoku deserves better. There's other players on that team that deserve better outcomes than what this Browns franchise is giving them. And the management team completely screwed them when they signed Deshaun Watson to the contract that they did. And it's only a matter of time before this whole thing completely implodes to where they're back at an 0-16 next 0-17 season, since there's 17 games in a year now. But good on those Steelers for getting the win two out of the last 3. I mean, two out of the last 3 weeks against the Browns. But there's not a lot to brag about when you're playing a team of the caliber like this.
Yeah, and to go along with your point, the best player in their team, Garrett Miles, and he's being buried. As wonderful a performer as he is, he's being buried under the avalanche of bad decision after bad decision after bad decision by the Browns front office and ownership group. And it's a shame. It's a shame. A team that looked like they were going to go places, and like you said, they put the albatross of the Deshaun Watson contract and drama, and look at him now. He can't even, he has now suffered 2 season-ending injuries, and now this team is circling the drain, going nowhere yet again, and they'll be on the search for yet another quarterback. Stop me if you heard that before about the Cleveland Browns, because that's been a legacy thing for them the last 26 years. They're 3-10. Their divisional foe, the Steelers, they're the opposite. They are 10-3. And looks like they are putting a more tight vice grip on the AFC North crown. But their schedule is getting tougher as we close out the season. Now to a game that was very close to being considered the game of the week. The Dolphins, they were chilling on South Beach. They welcomed the visiting New York Jets to town, and the rivals went at it tooth and nail. They went into overtime, and with the touchdown pass from Tua Tagovailoa, they beat the Jets 32-26 in overtime. Speaking of Tagovailoa, he was 33 of 47, 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, a carry, and 3 yards to boot. And yes, congratulations to him on successfully returning and playing well. It looks like he is the spark plug the Dolphins needed. Seemingly also Tyreek Hill, who also off of brand spanking new off of, I think it's 11th newborn. He had 10 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown in that game. Jalen Waddle, he had 9 receptions for 99 yards himself. On defense, you had Zach Zeiler, who had 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. And Jason Sanders, not to be outdone by the offensive special and the defense. The special teams got in on the act, 4 field goals of 4 attempts with a long of 57 yards. And then we get to the ayahuasca sipping, toe picking, darkness retreating, team obliterating space cadet that is Aaron Rodgers. 27 of 39, 339 yards and a touchdown. Oh, why am I clapping? This is the first game that Rodgers has thrown for over 300 yards as a member of the New York Jets. And he didn't turn the ball over. Proud of him. Braylon Allen on the ground, 11 carries for 43 yards through the air, 4 receptions, 38. Garrett Wilson, he paced away for the Jets through the air. 7 receptions for 114 yards. Devontae Adams, 9 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So are you liking it there in the Meadowlands, Mr. Adams? I didn't think so. Oh, also not to be outdone with the special teams, Anders Carlson, he also made 4 field goals in 4 attempts. Your thoughts on the Dolphins' victory over the Jets?
You know, it was good to see Aaron Rodgers actually throw for 300 yards for the first time this season. Was it the first time this season he threw for 300 yards? Because it felt like it.
Easily first time this season he's thrown for over 300 yards.
It has been absolutely dumpster pelican worthy seeing this team play the way they've been playing this year. 3-10. We were just talking about the Browns. You know, from one bad team to another, it's not looking good for Aaron Rodgers for the remainder of this year. Even if you find a way to win the next 4 games and finish 7-10, which you're not, but if you did, it would be absolutely big for them to finish that way. Especially if you want to make a strong case that you deserve to come back next year, because they don't have a running game.
No,
for one, that's been one thing that's really, really hurt them this year. Is they have had nothing to offset the pass and to establish the offense at all. They've not been able to run the ball. It's good for Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams to both see over 100 yards in a game, and for Aaron Rodgers to get to 300 yards, looking like the Aaron Rodgers of old. But those 12 incompletions and only 1 touchdown pass definitely set them backwards a little bit. I think they're not going to be able to really establish anything as a team until they get a little bit more help with the running attack and they get a little bit more help on the offensive line, because they have been taking way too many pressures, way too many sacks, and it showed in this game, because I'd say at least a third, if not half of those incompletions Aaron Rodgers had, he was truly pressured on those drives. So looking at it for what it is, the Jets still have a lot of work, but it's not really going to start until the offseason, because they got to figure out what their identity is going to be after 2024. And they have to make more than 1 or 2 or 3 moves in order to really supplant what that can look like going into 2025 and beyond. So, you know, at this point, you're playing for bragging rights. And at least in this scenario, you have your wide receiver that's traded for that got over 100 yards. You got your quarterback that finally came back from a pretty devastating injury from last year, who was able to finally, in a similar, I wouldn't say similar, but in a reflective way, look similar to what he did when he was in Green Bay for a change. And he took a pretty decent team that's been making a comeback since Tua came back from that concussion. He took them all the way to overtime. Had they gotten the possession, who knows what would have happened, but the shoulda, coulda, woulda doesn't matter at this point in the day, because here and now we're talking about a 10th loss of the season for the Jets when they were so overhyped over the summer. And we were drinking some of the Kool-Aid too. I will at least acknowledge it for what it was, because on paper, and especially when you're thinking of at that point, if they go out and get Devontae Adams, it's a wrap. They're definitely making the playoffs and definitely can make a run. Well, now we've already seen that for what it was, because they either took too long to make it happen, or making it happen just made them worse, because at this point, we're going to be talking the should have been instead of what actually was for this team this year.
And here's the messed up part. So they have a capable running back in Breece Hall, but they really don't. For some reason, this Nathaniel Hackett offense seems to want to forget a running back exists. And that, to me, is the most dangerous and condemning aspect of this Jets run. Now, you and I both believe that the quarterback's best friend, and to me, defense's best friend, is a running game and a running back. And if you decide to not want to use him, that is on you. So, yeah, Jets, you all have yourselves to thank for this 3-10 record that you all are eating. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, who looked like they were giving up for dead at 3-7, now they are 6-7. And they have an outside shot of actually making the playoffs. Congratulations to you guys. And shout out to our brother, Playmaker. Glad to see you on board. All All right, let's go to the afternoon slate, shall we? The Seahawks, they complete the season sweep of the Arizona Cardinals, going to the desert and spanking the Birds 30-18. Geno Smith, solid game, actually, 24 of 30, 233 yards and a touchdown. He also, on the books, has a carry for no yards. Zach Charbonnet, he did a lot of damage. 22 carries on the ground, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of them being a 51-yard romp. He also had 7 receptions for 59 yards through the air. So he gave them over 190 total yards of offense. The Seahawks, as an offense, as a tandem, 176 yards on the ground, just beat down the Cardinals defense. The receiving, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 5 receptions, 82 yards, a touchdown. He also had a carry for 4 yards. Jason Myers on special teams, 3 field goals of 3 attempts. And then we get to Mr. Call of Duty, Mr. Kyler Murray himself. 25 of 38, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an Ernest Jones, a 4th interception, and a Kobe Bryant, not to be confused with Kobe Bean Bryant, pick. He also had 3 receptions for 16 yards. If memory serves it correct, didn't Kobe Bryant actually have a touchdown pick 6 the last time this team's played? Yet he did. Wow, Kyler. Somebody is studying film on you and you haven't found the counter. Oh, my bad. James Conner, he basically was the guy that was supposed to be it on the ground. 18 carries, 90 yards, 4 receptions, 32 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Your thoughts on the Seahawks staking a claim to the NFC West?
They're definitely making their claim, but I still can't take them too seriously when the production they gave was all in the first half. And they gave the Cardinals many opportunities in the second half to actually come back, let alone potentially run away with it. I don't know if I can't take the Seahawks team as serious or if I've completely shut the book on the Cardinals for this year, even if they do happen to make the wild card, because, with the way the Seahawks just did yesterday, they've got a really good, position to take this division with the last month of the season at our feet. So Cardinals, not so good, but at the same time, the Seahawks had an opportunity to run away with it, and you should have won by more than 12 points when you got a quarterback on the other side that's literally giving you the ball, and you've got an entire half from mollywopping them in the first half to where going into halftime up 2 possessions, and you had an opportunity to run away with it, and all you did was score 2 field goals. I'm concerned about that. I would be concerned about that if I was a Seahawks fan, but also as a fan of football in general, you shouldn't be looking at the Seahawks to make it past the division round in the playoffs at this point, considering that even though the Cardinals are a pretty good team and they have been clamoring for the top spot in that division all year until they had these last 2 losses against the Seahawks. It's just, to me, it's too many red flags looking at the way this game unfolded, that to where if they were to face the Eagles or the Lions or the Vikings in the playoffs, there's no way this type of football is going to work, because they're not going to be able to score like they did in the first half against those other 3 teams I mentioned. And there's no way that playing in the way that they did in the second half, they're going to be able to sustain any type of lead or comeback against any of those teams that I mentioned. So I would be very concerned if I were the Seahawks at this point.
I agree. This is going to sound really, really harsh. And this is coming from a fan of a team that also has a squad that leads a division with an 8-5 record. Because I will say the exact same thing about them as I do about the Seahawks. That lead and the 8-5 record almost seems smoke and mirrors like. And yeah, it's good that you're a game up on one team and 2 games up on the other 2. But I agree with you. They can't play this uneven. They cannot play this up and down and expect to do any damage in mid-January onward, because they would be just like the Bucks. a candidate for a wild card round home game and bounced because there's just teams that are much better than they are. However, they are 8-5 and they do lead the NFC West. And they probably might have just said goodbye to the Cardinals even contending for the NFC West. The Cardinals dropped to 6-7, although they are still in the playoff hunt. The aforementioned Seahawks, they are 8-5, and hopefully they can tighten up the ship before we get to the playoffs. Now, to another NFC West team, the San Francisco 49ers, who have been battered up and beaten down. They hosted the Chicago Bears. And before I continue, in the realm of the apology has to be as loud as the disrespect. Last week, I was on air saying that the 49ers will go down to the Bears. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I am sorry. I missed it because I did not think the Bears would come into Santa Clara with such a putrid performance. 38-13 was the final score, and the game wasn't even that close. Brock Purdy was his absolute surgical self. 20-25, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 5 carries for 11 yards. I actually would want a QB to do that every single game. Oh my gosh, that's a great stat line. Isaac Orendo, 15 carries for 78 yards. Of course, he is taking the place of one Christian McCaffrey, who unfortunately is out for the year, or slated to be out for the year. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had 2 receptions for 50 yards, so 128 yards total of offense for him. George Kittle, 6 receptions, 151 yards. Juwan Jennings, 7 receptions, 7 receptions, 90 yards, and both of those touchdown passes thrown to Jennings from Purdy. Yes, I know, playmaker. Anyway, I shall continue. Goodness gracious. On defense, Leonard Floyd, he was the man. Well, he was one of the men, I should say. 2 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. But Yetur Gross-Matos, 4 solo tackles, 3 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits, and 3 sacks. That paced the way for the defense of the 49ers to put Caleb Williams on the ground 6 times. Speaking of Caleb Williams, he was 17-23, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 carries for 27 yards. And but here's good news about Caleb Williams. In this losing streak, he has not thrown an interception, although he did turn the ball over. Jonathan Owens, I'm sorry, I'm calling him by his wrong name. Simone Biles' husband had a pick of Brock Purdy. Your thoughts, sir, on the domination that the 49ers put on the Bears?
When you gave your take last week, the one thing I was afraid of was that somebody was going to come on the air today and go, George the Animal Kittle, because I cannot stand hearing that expletive today, okay? I do not want to hear any of that because it was not George the Animal Kittle that got the win here, okay? It was Brock Purdy, like you said, being surgical with his 20 of 25 completions and 2 touchdowns. And George the Animal Kittle had 151 receiving yards. Congratulations, George. But you are not of the jungle in this game, which we only had 6 receptions here. So, Juwan Jennings, good on you for the 7 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Animal Kittle couldn't even get into the end zone. Okay? So, before you get all high and mighty with your Kool-Aid and your ice cubes, just remember, at this point, with a month left to go, you are not even at 500. So you can take your throne in the Animal Kittle and have it all to yourself because it is not looking good for you, 49ers Nation.
Oh gosh, which makes me glad I did not do the reference because that, yeah, that was part and parcel why I was on the sick side of that too, and not to be giving you a sick dicky. The Bears, they came into the middle part, no, the latter part of October, 4-2. They have not won a game since. They have dropped 7 straight, so now they are 4-9. The aforementioned 49ers and Justin McKinnell is now 6-7, and they are holding on for dear life, hoping that they get a shot and a crack at a divisional title. Well, they won't play the Seahawks again. They split their season series with them. But playoff spot, well, they're in the running. We'll see how well they do down the stretch. And now for the Sunday night game, which featured it was actually a pretty good game. It was between the homebound Kansas City Chiefs, who clinched the playoff spot, and a Los Angeles Chargers team that is hoping to actually have a shot at the AFC West crown, but definitely have a shot at the playoffs. This was nip and tuck the whole way. It was a defensive struggle the whole way. And it actually was an entertaining defensive struggle the whole way. In fact, this is one of the types of games I like to watch. And it came down to a doink off the left upright. And that doink off the left upright propelled the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Chargers 19-17 and win the AFC West crown for the 9th consecutive season. Patrick Mahomes, 24-37, 210 yards and a touchdown, 4 carries for 17 yards. Of course, I guess the key stat is no interceptions or no turnovers. Tashawn Wharton on defense, he had 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. And the doinker in question, Matthew Wright, 4-4 for field goals. He made a long of 50, and that doink off the left upright, that was from 31 yards. And if, of course, that went, if it went left, or if it didn't go off the upright and in, it would have been a Chargers victory, but it's a Chargers L. Justin Herbert, a game performance, and he was getting toe up too in the pocket. 21-30, 213 yards and a touchdown, and he actually has a pretty good stat running. Well, I think he's thrown like 650 plus throws, no picks. So that should go to show Jim Harbaugh, he's been a great addition for him. 4 carries for 12 yards as well for Mr. Herbert. Your thoughts on this game and the Chiefs winning their 9th consecutive AFC West crown?
And to touch up with what you were saying about Herbert, both quarterbacks actually got beat up pretty good in this game.
Yeah, Mahomes get touched up too.
Yeah, both of them are getting beat up pretty good. And looking at the amount of penalties and for the yardage, you could argue that the Chargers should have won this game. But if it was clock management, in the fourth quarter, and these little dink and dunk plays where they're eating up just some yards here and there, to where they made just the right call, taking it all the way down to like just a second with the field goal. But even you said it, there was a split second right there when we were talking about it last night. You said you thought he was going to miss it. And, because I said, I in all caps, you doink for the division. That's what they said on the air. Like, the way that crowd erupted when they won, I have a feeling that they're going to turn into absolute snowflakes when they don't win the division. It's going to be worse than the results of this past election when people were acting like snowflakes out here on the internet. Okay. It's going to be that bad when the Chiefs don't win their first division after this whole stretch of 9 straight, whether it's 10, 11, 12 straight division championship titles that they're going to win in a season. It's going to end at some point because you've been doing it since Alex Smith was there. And now he's gone. And you've been doing it pretty much since Chris Jones has been on the team. You've been winning the division, every single year. It's been absolutely huge for them because this year their defense has propelled them primarily to the point to where they're at 12-1. They are not 12-1 on the back of their offense. They have a really good team. They've played really smart. Patrick Mahomes can get away with having just a little over 200 yards and winning a game.
Right.
He could get away with having 150 yards passing in winning this game because they've got the depth at running back, they've got the receivers, they've got a good offensive line, and they got a solid defense. And special teams, like you were saying, because Butker's out, and Wright, they had a lot of confidence in him to even put them in that position. But even he proved right there, like, you might want to reel it back in just a little bit, because had you missed that, game would have been over, and then we'd be talking a whole different story today on this Monday. But with all that being said, good for the Chiefs to actually get it done. For the Chiefs haters out there, you got to watch another year of them in the playoffs. They won the division. They win 3 out of the next 4 games that are coming up, and they will have the first round bye and the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But when it comes to all that, good for them to finally find ways to get it done. Yeah. But I don't think that the way this team has been playing this year is a recipe for them to win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. They might make it there, but if you have to play a Detroit Lions team in the Super Bowl playing like this, I don't think you're going to win. You got to play an Eagles team that's actually on their game, because they weren't on their game yesterday. I'm sorry, Dante, but they weren't. If you got to actually play an Eagles game that's on their game, you're not going to win the Super Bowl this way. And the Minnesota Vikings are proving that they are not a slouch either. So between those 3 teams, if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl and they have to face either one of those 3 teams, and keep in mind, you still got to get to the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills first, more than likely. I just don't have a really good feeling about this Chiefs team heading into a playoff run. But good on them to find a way to get this win last night with Matthew Wright, because it was kind of a bittersweet thing when he went down with that shoulder injury when he was filling in for the 49ers earlier this year. And now that he's actually on a decent team to help Harrison Butker out for the next few weeks and potentially put them in line to make another playoff run, it's good for him to get some redemption towards the end of the year from Matthew Wright.
Oh, 100. I'm with you on your Chiefs take somewhat. I think if they do play the Lions, that's probably the only team I think that would probably give them the L in the Super Bowl. But I think the way that they can play now, I think they could beat any other team. And I'm iffy on the Lions to a degree, because even though the plus side is Aiden Hutchinson is going to probably coming back, and more than likely he'll be ready for the Super Bowl, that defense has been battered up. And although, yes, that still is not an excuse, because they still keep on winning, because they, just like the Chiefs, are 12-1. I'm just thinking, which one of these injuries is going to make that whole defense collapse? That's the only issue I have with the Lions. Otherwise, the way they play, to me, I think they play sort of the Chiefs style better, because they rely on a physical style running. They, of course, they want to throw off the run, and they want to beat you down defensively and say you can't run against us. So, I like I said, to a degree, I agree with you, and I think the Lions are the team that you really can't do that against the Chiefs. But the rest of the pool, if the Vikings or the Packers or the Eagles seem to find a way to bounce the Lions out the playoffs, and I'm not saying that that's a lock on any of them, I think the Chiefs can actually be the first team in the modern Super Bowl era, in the modern day era, to go back to back winning Super Bowls, because for some reason they just find a way to make you not do what you want to do, and then they beat you with great decision making down the stretch. That's hard. It's hard to beat a team that is in lockstep, to me, with Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, because to me, I think those are the 2 big brain trusts. And you can add Patrick Mahomes there too, because he's shown that he has no ego. Because he could be like, well, you got into these rings off the strength of my arm. I can still win it. And he's more like, I don't give a crap. I just want to win. But they're 12-1. They clinched the AFC West. Congratulations to them. The Chargers, they fall to 8-5, but hold your head up because you might see the Chiefs again, and you might play them just as tough, and it may come down to a last-second field goal again.
But they're being smarter with their play calling, especially on offense, which they've got a wizard over there in Andy Reid. But I mean, Mahomes, he has a good amount of interceptions through 13 games already this year, and it was through 12 games before even last night's game. So he had 11 interceptions to 19 touchdowns. So to Patrick Mahomes, that's pretty pedestrian like numbers. So even if he did have an ego, it was like, oh, you won the Super Bowls in my arm. Yeah, but your arm has thrown just as many interceptions almost as touchdowns this year. So you might as well just want to sit back and take it easy and just let us make the call. But instead, he's not even putting them in that position. He's doing the right things, like you said, which is why they are 12-1 right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I have more respect for Mahomes now than I did 5 years ago when he was doing these wonderful things and throwing for 5,000 yards in the season, which that's impressive. But it's showing me it doesn't matter. If you give me the weapons, I can give you the wins. If I don't have the weapons and you give me a piecemeal wide receiver core and a running game that's and I like Pacheco and I like Kareem Hunt too, but let's be honest, that running game is suspect. He's still saying, I'm gonna still give you wins.
It was suspect with Pacheco out for those 5 games.
It's going to be better with him in. He's going to be better with him. Yeah.
Since he's been back, the team has looked different.
And I will say this: I'm not going to throw shade on Pacheco that hard. That last possession, he was part of the reason why they won it. So yeah, you had a dose of him. Got a hard charging third down run for a first down. You had that, a third down throw to Travis Kelce where he just sat right there waiting for Mahomes to throw him the pass and just making the right decisions down the stretch. To me, that is what sets the Chiefs apart from everybody else. They just know what to do down the stretch, and they seem to be in lockstep. And I can't say the other 31 teams are there yet. I'm not saying they can't get there. That's just a hard thing to overcome. Now,
because, I mean, even Mahomes is a veteran at this point. They got a number of good veterans on this team that they bring the core together. Because the first Super Bowl, I would say Alex Smith deserved that one when he was there. It felt like it was Mahomes robbed the team from Alex Smith, and it was shortly after Alex Smith had the injury and all that stuff. Like, there was a lot of stuff going through my head with that. But as time has gone on, Mahomes has proven that this is his team. Has proven he was the right choice to be the leader for this team, considering the fact that they have now won 3 Super Bowls and appeared in 4, and they're trying to win a 3rd in a row this year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I agree with you. The team is much better. The team is actually more physical with Pacheco in the lineup offensively, which that bodes a whole lot well for the Chiefs.
He can block.
Yes, and he's a great underrated blocker. Underrated blitz pickup blocker. 12-1 for them. The Chargers 8-5. They shouldn't hang their heads. This actually was a good Sunday night game. And we're going to be hearing more from the Chargers down the stretch and next year, because I'm looking forward to seeing how this team grows. Ooh, man, because they pack a wallop. Oh, I like them. I like them a lot. All right, it is time for this game to come on. The upset of the week also serves as the bowling shoe ugly, I should say the dumpster pelican game of the week as well. It was between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. The Jaguars, with a fourth quarter touchdown, beat the Titans 10-6. Mac Jones, 23 or 31, 220 yards. He had 3 carries for 3 yards. Brian Thomas, 8 receptions for 86 yards. And you had Will Levis for the Titans. 19-32, 168 yards. They also had a carry for 3 yards. Tony Pollard with a wasted performance, 21 carries under 2 yards on the ground, 2 receptions, 22 yards in the air. And Mac Jones, he threw 2 picks. Chidobe Awuzie with 1. Otis Reed the 4th with the other. Now, my bone to pick, even though this is the team I root for the least, and this makes me glad to say that the Titans have been eliminated for the playoffs again, is they had a 3rd and 5 at the Jaguars 10 with under 2 minutes to go in the game. Levis drops back to pass. He rolls to the right. He sees Calvin Ridley in the flat, throws it to him, and he takes 3 steps out of bounds with 2 yards to gain the first down, and he could have turned it upfield to gain it because the next defender that was near him was probably about 7 yards away from him. That right there tells you the ineptitude of the Tennessee Titans. Oh, the next play, it was an incomplete pass, a 4th down, and the most beautiful sound I've ever heard out of Nissan Stadium emanated from that crowd. A chorus of boos. And it was for the Titans. Your thoughts on this absolutely atrocious game between the Jaguars and the Titans?
To add the icing on the cake, how does Levis not score any touchdowns against the number 32 ranked defense in the NFL? They are number 32 in total defense, passing, and rushing defense. The trifecta of suck. Okay, that is what it feels like when you watch this Jaguars team. And then when it comes to the offense of the Titans, I don't know off the top of my head when it comes to their ranking. I just know the Jags because I was like, hold up. When I saw these highlights, it's like they've got to be one of the worst teams in the NFL for defense. And I was like, holy expletive. They are the worst team in the NFL, which is why when we have a discussion here in a little bit, you're going to see exactly why I made that choice. But I think I just gave it away, but you'll see here in a little bit. Right here and now, when it comes to this, I know you were excited to watch this because a team that likes to steal your old uniforms and wear them from time to time like they are somebody, you're not, because the only relevance you've had in the past 25 years was the Music City Miracle that got you to the Super Bowl, okay? Now, yes, like you said, they have been eliminated. It is sad when you see the type of performance that comes from Tony Pollard. And, you know, you should win when you have situations like that. You should win, especially when it's only a 4-point game at the end and you have that set up like you said, and then he just goes out of bounds. It reminds me of, you know, somebody who had an open lane and then veered to the right that we didn't really touch up on earlier, but I'm going to touch up on it again here in a little bit when you have your discussion. Right here and now, the Titans should definitely be shopping for a new quarterback this offseason. And if you are not, even though this is very early on in Will Levis's career and you're saying, oh, we might be able to fix this, unless you get a quarterback whisperer in there, there's no way that you're going to be able to fix something that is off the rails as this when it comes to how bad he played. And especially against a team like the Jags, who, again, are the worst in the NFL with defense. And you got Mac and Chi over there giving you 2 interceptions and handing you the ball and saying, here, please score on us so I can get fired. That's exactly what it looked like when he threw those 2 interceptions. So here and now, take it for what it is. Mac and Chi macked it up and got the dub, but he didn't earn it because Will Levis handed it to him on a silver platter.
Oh, my. You're awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, both teams are 3-10. The Titans dropped to 3-10. The Jaguars improved to 3-10, and they break a 5-game losing streak in doing so. Oh yeah, the Jaguars also eliminated from the playoffs too. But this was horrible, and unfortunately, I could not avoid that game. That was the one being televised for the week here. Oh gosh. And now I can breathe easier because I can not think about that game and go to the game of the week. It featured the Buffalo Bills. They're riding high. They were 10-2, getting to LA to play against the Rams. They are battling for their playoff lives at 6-6. This game actually was the Rams for the taking, and they had a 17-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But they had to hold on for dear life for a 44-42 victory over the Bills. Matthew Stafford wonderful performance. 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 5 carries for a yard and a rushing touchdown. Calvin Williams, steady as she goes. 29 carries, 87 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He basically played chain mover, really. And I guess you could say he also stemmed the tide of the pass rush in his not exploding for rushing yardage. He also had 2 receptions for 10 yards. Puka Nacua was the man of the show, except for the other that I'm going to say later. 12 receptions, under 62 yards, and a receiving touchdown. He also had 5 carries for 16 yards and a rushing touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions with 92 yards and a receiving touchdown of his own. But Josh Allen, to me, he is the MVP frontrunner. He did absolutely zero to dissuade me from it in this game. 22 of 37, 342 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. 10 carries, 82 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Oh, Khalil Shakir, 5 receptions, 106 yards. He caught a wonderful touchdown pass. Ooh, the touchdown pass that Allen threw to Mac Hollins was a thing of beauty. Oh my gosh. Amari Cooper, 6 receptions, 95 yards. Here is the stat to take away from this game. Neither quarterback suffered a sack. That's right. No sacks were recorded in this game. Your thoughts on this shootout that really didn't think it was going to be, but it ended up being one in the Rams' victory over the Bills?
Just when we thought that from the previous game it couldn't get any better, when he had 4 total touchdowns and he had 2 throwing, 1 rushing and 1 receiving, he finds a way to outdo it in this game. And there's not many people that can get 6 touchdowns in a game, lose, and we still be talking about them for the MVP of the league.
Right.
If they have that type of trifecta. I mean, 6 touchdowns and to be up there for the MVP, yes, but to also lose. And for us to be talking about him in the MVP, I agree with you on that. This was the first time since 1965 that there were no turnovers and no sacks in a game at the same time. Since no turnovers meaning no interceptions, no fumbles, and no sacks in a game. Since what that was we're a year away from saying that was 60 years ago.
Close to 60 years.
To have neither of those happen, that was absolutely big for both of these teams. The Rams, who've been trying to claw their way back into playoff contention since the way the season started, when they had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua out due to injuries early on, and they are now 7-6 after this win. This was a huge win for the Rams. Okay, they have the talent on the team to be 10-3 right now, just like the Bills do. But unfortunately, the way things started out at the beginning of the year, from a man playmaker, your guy too, he was pretty down at the beginning of the year based on the way this Rams team was playing. But he's got his players back. He's got to be smiling right before the holiday season with some holiday cheer, knowing that his team is playing like this against a team that you and I both have been saying for a couple months now. Bills look like a playoff team. They look like a team that can go to the Super Bowl. And when you have a Rams team matching up against that and beating them, and both teams combined for 86 points in a game, the highest scoring game of the NFL season. Yes, this is the game of the week. Absolutely. And you should be happy if you are a Los Angeles Rams fan. With 4 games left in the season, you not only have a chance to make the playoffs, but even if it's a wild card spot, you have a chance to do some damage in the playoffs this year when you have both Kupp, who is a very unselfish wide receiver, by the way, and Puka Nacua with his skill set and finding his way to get into the end zone like he did yesterday against this Bills team. Absolutely great for him. And he had 162 mother-fathering yards on the day. So absolutely great for him. Looking at Cooper Kupp as well, almost had 100 yards, but he also had a touchdown. I don't want to forget him out of there. But, outside of that, I do need to say this. because combined between Puka and Cooper, they had 17 catches for about 250 yards. That's huge, and 2 touchdowns.
All right.
Tutu Atwell did pretty good with 3 receptions
Mm.
for 45 yards. But outside of that, they do not have much help at the wide receiver position. And that is the part that concerns me going into this playoff run. Kieran Williams having to run the ball 29 times for only 87 yards, averaging 3 yards per carry, concerns me a little bit. The fact that they are running him that many times and he's not even breaking triple digits, I am concerned about that. Blake Corum, we've already been up and down the way with that. But we also got to throw out there, Puka had a rushing touchdown too. So he had 2 touchdowns on the day in this game. And Stafford was very efficient, only with 7 incompletions, no turnovers, and 320 passing yards. Overall, between what they did there and on special teams, I'd say they did very well. But I would say I am concerned about this running game a little bit. And I'm concerned about that they don't really have much help outside of Puka and Cooper. So we'll have to see how things pan out for this team, but I am concerned about that. But right here, right now, besides all the things that you should be a little concerned about, because with every team that's winning, you can't look at all the bright spots. You got to look at the things you got to work on, because that's how you improve and get better. If you focus on the things you really need to improve on while you're still winning. And right here and now, they need to get more production out of their running game and a little bit more out of their receivers that surround your 2 stars as well.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The cupboard seems to be bare other than Tutu Atwell with the wide receivers. I agree with you. And hopefully it will not have to take big games like this from both Nacua and Cup and Stafford throwing for over 300 yards just to eke out victories. But since they were playing the Bills, which is going to be, to me, that's the toughest game they'll have to play down the stretch. For the exception of the game they played against the Eagles. The next tough game they really would have to play would be a playoff team. But here's the good thing and the good news for the Rams. They play each of their divisional rivals once the rest of the way. So they have a game against the 49ers, a game against the Seahawks. And I think they end at home against the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. Playmaker, check me on that. But I believe it is they end at home against the Cardinals. And they win those 3 games. To me, I think the division is theirs. So a team that was 3-6 at one time, they were 3-6, and they have not been over 500 throughout the year until today.
Rams have 49ers, Jets, Cardinals, and then the Seahawks for their last.
Okay, so the Seahawks is the last game, but I know it's a home game that they end the season on. So yes, so they host the Seahawks.
Yep. Their last 2 games are home games, and their next 2 games are road games. Right.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So to me, the NFC West is theirs for the taking, because they're a game behind the Seahawks and they have a victory against them already. So if they went out, and they could beat the Jets, if they went out, that division is theirs. The NFC West is theirs. And if they could play like this, the NFC West definitely is theirs. So they're 7-6, but they might be the most dangerous 7-6 team that you got in the pool, because even though they're 1 game behind the number 7 seed in the pecking order of the playoffs in the NFC, that would be Drew's Commanders. The Rams have their sights set on something greater. And oh, by the way, they do have a victory over the Vikings. So the Vikings end up being the number 5 seed, and the Rams win the NFC West. They had the confidence to take down the Vikings. So just food for thought. You mentioned the Bills there. They dropped to 10-3, and they may have hurt their chances a little bit at gaining the number 1 seed in the AFC. But I think for them, they just want to end the season healthy, and I think they want to make sure that they at least have the number 2 seed. And so they're going to have to fend off the Steelers. They're going to have to get the number 2 seed, and they want to put themselves in a position to actually meet up with the Chiefs as late as they can, and that would be the AFC Championship game. But, wow. Great game, wonderful game, probably one of the best games of the year. And to me, Josh Allen showed fight, and I'll talk about that a little later. That ends the game of the week. That also ends this week's opening drive, as we'll officially end it here.
All right, let's go. We got trips right at 42, 989 on 2. Ready?
Oh, but the fun is not stopping there. Oh, yeah. Where are my dogs at? That's right. It is time for this edition's game of the week. And Drew, who is yours, sir?
I got to show some love for this player for one, and for this team, as they have not been given enough of it this year. And
Right.
I'm going to go with quarterback Sam Darnold, who was 22 of 28 for 347 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, led the Vikings to 11th win of the season in this past game. You cannot throw shade at Sam Darnold anymore with the way that he has played for this Vikings team this year. Yes, Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer, but overall, when you have numbers like this, and when you're throwing for 5 mother-fathering touchdowns in a game, you got to show love where it's due, and it's due right here, and that's why I'm giving it to Sam Darnold.
Yeah. I'm going to give love to him, too. And it's a great pick. Great pick. And I'm on record. I'll say that's the best game he's played in his NFL career.
Yes.
Ooh. Beautiful. Beautiful. I got no complaints there. Well, I had to comb over things such as, let me see, the 49ers putting Caleb Williams down 6 times. Let's see, I was going to actually pick one of those 49ers to be one of the 49ers defenders, actually be a game of the week contestant. But I was like, grand champ contestant. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to do something that's a little bit different. And so my grand champ is one Josh Allen. And I know you're saying, wait a minute, whoa, Cole. The Bills lost their game. Yes, they did. But they did not lose this game because of this guy. When you can account for all of your team's touchdowns and your defense has to basically stink up the joint in order for it to not actually be as good as or as spectacular of a performance, that just shows you how much of a gamer this guy is. And I mean, this guy kept them in it and put them within the doorstep of it, to the point where, speaking of good game management scenarios, it got to the point where you actually had Sean McVay have the last play be a punt, because he knew if the ball was in the hands of Josh Allen, no matter where, it could have been on their own 5. He did not think that the Rams defense could stop him. And he's correct. The Rams defense could not. And the Rams defense did not. It had to take the opposing offense and special teams and game management to stop him. But people are talking about Saquon Barkley. He has to get about 2,150 yards on the ground to possibly be MVP. You can throw other names at the hat. Heck, you even throw Sam Darnold, but he's going to get comeback player of the year. But the player to me that is the guy who you're saying, when he is on the field, I can't take my eyes off him. You're saying that more about Josh Allen than anybody else. So even in the losing effort, he is my grand champ this week.
I love it. I almost picked him too, but because of the loss, it's the only reason why I didn't. And if something told me, I just had a feeling you were going to pick him. So I was like, I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. And I feel like we both had pretty good choices for our picks for champ of the week.
And the opposite is true too, because if you didn't pick Sam Darnold, I would have. But I figured you would have. But I was like, okay, good choice, because I would have rolled with them.
There
Definitely.
it is.
There you go.
Total football talk.
Right, time for the 2-minute drill. This is where we uncover the games that are coming starting on Monday night and going until the next Sunday night. Now, we have all buys done. Every team has gone on their bye, so every game, every team will be playing from this point on until the end of the season. Now, we will begin with tonight's game. ESPN ABC will have the kick at 8:15, all times are Eastern, between the Dallas Cowboys and the visiting Bengals. The Cowboys are 5-7. The Bengals are 4-8. All right, which team is going to actually show that they are interested in this season and actually win this game?
Do I have to? I feel like the Bengals are going to win this game on the road in Jerry World. Both teams will have the same record by the end of it. They'll both be 5-8. I want this to happen, and there's a very good chance that it does go the other way, but I feel like the Bengals are going to try to play for some type of bragging right, and it's going to happen here, and they're going to win this game on the road.
I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for that scenario. Unfortunately, the Bengals defense is so atrocious. Oh, God, they're so bad. They're worse than how the Cowboys have looked. They're just bad. So because of that, and I think the defense of the Cowboys can get one or two plays that could benefit their offense. And I think we will see the Cowboys in thick of things, and I think they'll be 6-7. I'm not rooting for it. I just think it's going to be the case, because if so, we'll be hearing this.
Drew Willingham.
In this case,
Oh, no, we want to see that. We want to see all of that. But doggone it, we'll be hearing all of these things.
This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation.
God, I have a headache just thinking about hearing, we're going to Super Bowl, right? Oh, God. Shut up.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right, now on to Thursday. And we were talking about the Rams. At 7-6, they will be traveling up north, and they'll be going to Northern California at Santa Clara. They'll be face off against the 49ers at 6-7. Prime Video will have that. The kickoff is at 8:15. The Rams already have a game in tow against the 49ers, so they're looking for the season sweep. Your thoughts on this game and who you see winning it?
George the Animal Kittle's going to go off and they're going to win the game. No, they are not. They are not going to win this game. The Rams are going to be the second team this week to win on the road, being the Bengals tonight. And in this game, the Rams, I feel like, are going to be the secondary team to do that. That's what's going to happen in this game. That's what I want to happen. And they are going to improve to 8-6, while the George the Animal Kittles fall to 6-8.
Not necessarily, well, partially for that petty reason, for me too, but more because I really believe the 49ers have too many injuries. They are too nicked up. They're too banged up. And they have the pride of being the reigning, defending, undisputed NFC champs. I just don't think they have the horses. But the Rams, I believe, do. I think they'll sweep the 49ers as well. I see it also as a victory for them, and they will, as my partner said, they'll go to 8-6. The 49ers will drop to 6-8.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right, now on to Sunday. CBS will have this 1 p.m. kick. The Browns, and they'll be the hospitable hosts at 3-10 to the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs. I would say that the Chiefs, the Browns don't stand a chance. I'm not going to say that, but who do you have in this game?
The Browns are going to win this game.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
I think the transitions I clicked afterwards say it enough. The Chiefs are going to win this game. Shame on any of you that think the Browns have a chance. They're going to drop to 3-11. The Chiefs will improve to 13-1.
I think the Chiefs are too motivated, and the Browns are just not even on the talent level, for the exception of 3 players on the team. 2 of them unfortunately injured. That would be coming off injury. That would be Njoku and Chubb. But other than those 2 and Garrett Miles, the talent pool with the Chiefs is far superior to the Browns. Yeah, the Chiefs got this game, and they're motivated. I think they want to have the number 1 seed. Now the Bengals. At present, they're 4-8. Hopefully, they'll be 5-8. They also could be 4-9. They travel to Nashville to play the Titans. They are 3-10. That's indisputable. Fox will have that kick at 1 p.m. Who do you have in this one?
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
You ain't never lied to you.
Yeah, especially about this game right here. Nobody cares. We want to see the Levis-led Titans fall to 3-11. That's what Cole and I want in this game. However, if the Bengals lose on Monday Night Football, then I will believe that they will lose this game too. They beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football and improved to 5-8. They will win this game against the Titans and improve to 6-8 and give their fan base just a glimmer of hope before the end of the year, especially with the way things started. At least a glimmer of the hope to finish with a positive record, but they got to get the win against the Cowboys first. I feel like they're going to do that, and they're going to steamroll into the Titans game and finish this one 6-8.
That's what I'm hoping as well. All of that scenario. That's what I'm hoping. And yes, the only time I'll be rooting for the Titans is when they will be playing the Colts. Otherwise, I really don't care what they do, except I just want them to be on the losing end of a final score. Yes, petty, and I embrace it.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
CBS will have this 1 p.m. kick between the New York Giants and the visiting Baltimore Ravens. They are coming off their bye at 8-5. The Giants are 2-11. Who do you have in this game, sir?
Got to go backwards for one, but for this game,
I am.
For this game right here, I mean, come on now. The Ravens are going to be 9-5 after this game. Giants are going for sure. They will fall to 2-12.
Yeah, what he said.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And now to make my partner smile, a little bit more of a competitive game. Fox will have this kick at 1 p.m. The Saints at 5-8. They've won 3 out of the last 4. They will be hosting the coming off of their bye as well, 8-5 Washington Commanders. I know you'll cover this game in depth on Commanders Gridiron Report, but who do you have in this one, sir?
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
Saints are terrible. It's my story that I want to tell on this day. They are absolutely terrible. They are going to fall to 5-9. The Dennis Allen-less led Saints, since he has been gone. Since you've been gone. Since the Commanders have been without Ron Rivera, things have been doing pretty good for them too. So hopefully things will continue to trend upward. They will get another win for this season, and they will be at a positive record guaranteed after this win this week. And they will have to do that on the arm of Jaden Daniels, on the legs of him too, and Brian Robinson Jr., and making smart plays. Hopefully the bye week was good for them to get rested up and ready for this, because the Saints can play like a decent team when they want to,
Correct.
It depends on the setting. It depends on the environment. And depends on who's feeling more of like a snowflake that day for the Saints and see how things turn out for them. But very hopeful for my commies. They'll get the dub, and they'll get this dub on the road.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Kelly Clarkson. Yeah. I don't really feel it for the Saints. God, I mean they have tanked their season. They have tanked their season bad. As for the Commanders, I think they have a lot to fight for. More than likely, the divisional crown is out of reach. I'll say this considering I'm talking to a Commanders fan. It is still up for grabs because you still play them at home. Talk about the Eagles. You still play them at home. The Eagles can do like they did last year. They can fall off the cliff. And you could have a scenario where they fall off the cliff and the Commanders run the table. You could have that happen. But more than likely, they're fighting for a playoff spot, and they're fighting to probably improve from being the number 7 seed. So they're sitting right now at the 7th seed. If the season were to end today, I think the Commanders will improve to 9-5 as well. I see the inverse of the Saints. They'll be 5. They'll be 5-9. Whew.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right, another Fox 1 p.m. kick. This will feature the Panthers, 3-10. They host the Dallas Cowboys at right now 5-7. I want them to be 5-8. More than likely they'll be 6-8. Who do you have in this game?
If the Cowboys win the Monday night game against the Bengals, they will win this game against the Panthers and improve to 7-7. But based on what the Panthers did in this past weekend against the Eagles, I feel like it's going to be pretty tight. It's going to be a pretty close contest. And like I said, if the Cowboys win against the Bengals, they will have the momentum going into this game as they have had the momentum over the past couple of weeks, and they will get this win against the Panthers. However, Bengals win on Monday night. Cowboys will fall to Panthers. Panthers will improve to 4-10 because they will most likely not be able to catch the Giants for the number 1 overall pick at this point. We shall see. But right now, I'm still going to go with the Cowboys losing Monday night, and I'm going to go with them losing to the Panthers too and probably be wrong on both. Unfortunately.
Understand this, ladies and gentlemen. I am wanting that scenario to happen. I want that scenario to happen. Unfortunately, I don't think it will. Unfortunately, I think the Cowboys will improve to 7-7, and we'll have to still hear the nauseating, we're going to Super Bowl talk from Cowboys fan. They'll go to Charlotte, they'll win against the Panthers. I really don't want them to do it, but
you and I both know. We both know that if we hear that, we got to click this button.
Hit it.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Because you're going nowhere, Cowboys.
Sure not. I just, believe me, a part of me actually wishes they do go on a winning streak, and then when they go to Philly and lose, I'll be smiling my butt off.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right, the next game is another 3-10 host, the Jaguars. Fox will carry this game at 1. They meet against another 3-10 team, the Jets. So who wins this game? Duval or Aaron and the Jets? Which one?
I like that. Because both of them suck. All right, let me put it to you this way. If Aaron Rodgers cannot beat the Jaguars and cannot score 300 yards passing again, cannot tally 300 yards passing again, and cannot score 2 to 3 touchdowns passing in this game, he should retire after this week. Because they are the number 32 NFL defense in all 3 categories. Overall defense, passing, and rushing defense. The Jags are number 32 in the entire league. If Aaron Rodgers can do what he did this past week, against a Dolphins team that's vying for the playoffs and vying for a playoff run. If you cannot get that amount of production out of your players against a expletive team, and I'm being very nice right now. Like, I really want to say other words. But if you can't get that type of production, 300, 350 plus passing yards and 3 touchdowns with 0 interceptions against the most dumpster Pelican defense in the entire NFL, then you need to submit your papers this weekend after that Sunday game before it even strikes midnight, before you even have another dose of your ayahuasca in darkness. You need to send those papers in. No need to think about it. Because if you can't even score and win against the number 32 ranked defense, you have no business playing in the NFL, Mr. 41.
I don't have anything else to say about that. I agree. I 100% agree. Now, it really doesn't matter. The Jaguars win or lose in this one. That doesn't matter to me. But just for that embarrassment, I almost want to be rooting for the Jags just to have the Jets lose. But it really doesn't matter who wins this game to me. I just want the final gun to be played in that one. Heck, it could be a 0-0 tie. I don't care.
Calling him Mr. 41 for the rest of the month.
Mr. 41.
And not Agent 41, because you're not even playing well enough for me to call you Agent 41.
Oh, Lord.
I should call you Toilet Bowl 41. Drano 41. That's your new name.
Good Lord. Happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers. Okay.
D41.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right. Goodness gracious. CBS has this 1 p.m. kick. The Texans, they're coming off of their bye at 8-5. They lead the AFC South. They're hosting the Miami Dolphins. They are hotter than fish grease at 6-7. All right, who you have in this one, sir?
So I don't have to stab myself in the eye with a spork. I'm going with the Texans winning this game just because we have been watching a team, I wouldn't say floundering, but subpar performance this year.
That's a great way of putting it.
And I know it's been disturbing you a little bit.
Very much so.
You have been playing this very well. Even though my team is playing pretty well this year. Mm-hmm. I'm not giving them so much shade in the points where they haven't been winning because they're still doing better than last year.
Correct.
But your team has already surpassed those feelings, and you overcame those last year. So now it's building on those blocks that you had set down for the foundation from 2023. And this year they have been a mother-fathering appointment. Okay. So when it comes to that, the sophomore slump is mother-fathering real. It's like you put C.J. Stroud on the cover of Madden the way he's playing. As long as he's not injured, that's the good thing. But in certain plays, he looks like he forgot what was happening, like he walked over to the side and had a sip of Aaron's ayahuasca Gatorade, okay? That's what it looks like happened, okay? Either that or he had a little bit too much the night before, you know. But yes, I just coughed so much my headset fell off. But right here and now, CJ, you need the dub, and you're gonna get it this weekend. I think you're gonna get it at home. You're gonna improve to 9-5 after all the shenanigery I just gave you, and the Dolphins will regress. I do not retract any of that. They will fall to 6-8. That is my selection for this weekend.
I would pick the Dolphins if they were more committed to the run. I think they have something there, but for some reason they just want to have Tua for sure, since he runs the offense best, just wing the ball. And to me, that plays to the hands of the Texas defense. And sir, thank you. I could not have said the same thing about the Texans if I were to have written it to you. That's exactly the feeling I have. They have been extremely underwhelming. They've been extremely disappointing. And they shouldn't be 8-5. They should be better. This team should be better, but they make too many mistakes, which is what I thought was going to be their undoing. I know they're still in competition. They're the number 4 seed now this season with the end of the day. And more than likely, they can actually beat the team that they will probably face off against, who's the number 5 seed. Yes, I know. The thing is, they did that last year. And Drew could not have said any better. I think the Texans will win this. They'll improve to 9-5. But, oh, man, you all need to play more focused. The whole team needs to play more focused. And CJ, yes, sir. Channel what you were last December and January in decision making, and take the lessons you've learned from that and improve on it. Because yes, you need to get this W, and I think you will get this W. And I think this is the good team to jumpstart that W for you, because you all cannot play the way you have been playing the last month. Just can't.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Man, true. On point with that too, brother. On to the afternoon games, and all of them are 425 kicks. The first one being another 8-5 team, the Denver Broncos. They host another 6-7 team. This one, the Indianapolis Colts. Who do you have in this game, sir?
Sure as expletive, not that team. I got the Denver Broncos, who have been playing. You've been playing pretty serious this year, and it's been their defenses stepped up in a lot of areas, because even in the last game when Bo Nix had more interceptions than he did touchdowns, they saved him in certain areas, and I'm gonna have to go with that here. Even though the Colts, Shane Steichen's been keeping them pretty close with a 6-7 record. You got to look at what Flacco's done off the bench at certain points, and Anthony Richardson has found ways to show us that he does deserve to be in the NFL at certain points in this season. Broncos, though, are looking more like geniuses with that selection of Bo Nix than they were when we first were talking about it after the draft earlier this year. People were questioning that then. Don't think they're questioning that anymore now that they're 8-5. Feel like the Broncos will improve to 9-5, and the Colts will fall to 6-8.
Great analysis. I say the same, and I think the Colts are going to run into difficulty with Anthony Richardson trying to run that offense. I think he's going to be forced into mistakes that he doesn't really want to make, but he's going to be making them because he just is so inexperienced as an NFL QB. And what he does best, he's going to be eliminated from doing ad nauseum. And because of that Broncos defense is going to get after Richardson. They're going to pound him to the dirt. And the only hope that they'll have is for him to actually make long bombs. Which to me, that plays in the hands of the Broncos. And all Bo Nix has to do is just play steady and not turn the ball over. And I think he could do that. Yes, I'm rooting, of course, for the Broncos, obviously, but I'm picking the Broncos because they are the better team. And I think they will force Anthony Richardson to make mistakes he does not want to make.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right. The second 425 kick. CBS will also have this game. The game of the week to me. The Lions at 12-1. They host the Bills at 10-3. Oh, man. Who you have in this one?
First of all, this game should be the 8 o'clock game that night.
100.
I feel like this is more. I feel like I would enjoy watching this more than the Packers and the Seahawks.
I definitely would.
And yes, with that, I would definitely will enjoy watching him more too. But it is tough because I have had both of these teams. I've been saying for about a month now. I feel like it could be the Bills and the Lions in the Super Bowl, and one of these two teams are still going to the Super Bowl, and I feel like it's the Lions. Some of these fans, when it comes to the Lions, they're not as fair-weathered as the 49ers, okay?
No, they're not.
But when they lose, you can see a different demeanor that it's not really the same as what it would be for different teams. It's like on the outside they want you to think that they can accept it, but on the inside they're a little insecure about it. And I think they need to taste one more loss before they go on this playoff run. And the Bills are going to be really mad this week because of the way things happened this past week with the game management and the fact that they didn't get the ball back and they didn't get an opportunity to win. I don't see the Bills losing consecutive games and falling to 10-4. And I feel like at some point, the fourth down gambles, even though they paid off last week, they've been paying off for the past couple of years. At some point, he's going to pay for it. It's going to happen this week. The Lions fans need to shut up a little bit and get a little more humbled and realize where they came from. You were 0-16 at one point. You can't go into every game thinking you're going to win it. You're going to lose this game. You're going to get humbled a little bit. You need to shut the blank up.
Man. I agree with you. I think those gambles that Dan Campbell makes, one of them is going to come back to bite him in the worst way. Hopefully for him, it will be in a regular season game and not in the playoffs like it did this past January. I agree with you. I think the Lions are due for an L. And I wouldn't say that unless it was a team the caliber of the Bills and they're coming off of an L and they're hungry. And I think they do want the number one seed and they feel as though they still have an outside chance of getting it because they already have the division wrapped and sewn. Yeah. And I think they want to actually see the Lions being in a measuring stick and say, okay, this team is considered to be if not the NFC favorite, one of the favorites to be in the Super Bowl. Let's see how we measure up. And I think we're going to see probably a more focused effort than we saw. And I mean, from the team standpoint, because obviously Allen was focused, but most of the rest of the team wasn't in LA. I think we're going to see a focused team effort in Detroit. And I agree with you. I think the Bills will actually come out with a W against the Lions. And it's not a knock on the Lions. It's just due to the fact the Bills are just that good. And I agree. I think one of those Dan Campbell gambles is going to come back and bite them in the team. And it's probably going to happen Sunday.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
All right. The next 425 kick. Fox will have this one. It will be between the 11-2 Eagles. And of course, they would love the result that we're hoping for the Lions and Bills. They host the Steelers at 9-4. If the Eagles win, I'm sorry, 10-3. My bad. Steelers are 10-3. Now, if the Eagles will clinch the playoff spot, if they win this game, they will be the NFC East champs. We already know one of us does not want that to happen, but that is what would happen if that be the case. Who do you have between the battle of the Keystone State teams?
For my man Dante, and not the pick I want to make for our division sake, but I think that the Steelers are in a similar boat than the Lions, just not to a severe degree as far as they need to get served another L in order to realize where they're at this point in the season. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Eagles to win this game. Jalen Hurts will be able to throw for 250-plus yards in this game finally, and they will be able to get this done against a Steelers defense that has been pretty suspect at certain points this year, not living up to the hype, and I feel like it happens in this game against the Eagles.
I think that's what's going to have to be. I think Hurts is going to have to put forth that type of effort because you now they're going to be playing against a defense, and you talked about this earlier, which this perfectly dovetails into what we both believe. Now you're going to play a team that you have all 11 guys that's saying number 26 is not going to beat us. Who else is? And they're going to have to put in the arm of Jalen Hurts, maybe his legs too. And he's going to have to be the one who's going to be the decision maker and beat the Steelers. I think they can, due to the fact that I'm not a fan of the Steelers running game. And I think if they were to have a better running game, I would really hate it for the Eagles. But since the running game is and it sort of makes them one-dimensional-ish on offense, the Eagles were pretty stout on defense themselves. They proven to you, and they proved it with their divisional rival, with the Steelers' divisional rival, Ravens, that if they can curtail the running back who is supposed to be the straw which stirs the offense's drink, they can pin their ears back and take down the other one dimension. I think they can do the same thing here. And I see the same thing happening here. I think the Eagles, due to defensive power of their pass rush, because that defensive front is just ridiculous. I think they can put enough pressure on the Steelers and the wily wiles of Russell Wilson. I see them beating the Steelers. I think they'll improve to 12-2. I think the Steelers will drop to 10-4. And I don't think Saquon Barkley will gain 100 yards. Not saying that he won't. I just don't think he will. Because the Steelers defense is just too good. Too good.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right. The next 425 games, CBS will have this kick. The Cardinals at 6-7. They will host the Patriots at 3-10. Who do you have in this one, sir?
Patriots are going to lose this game. Next.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And the final 425 game features a much more intriguing matchup. Fox will have this kick. The Chargers at 8-5. They host the Tampa Bay Bucks at 7-6. The NFC South leading Bucks at 7-6. Who do you have in this one?
It's time for Bunker to bunker it up a little bit too much, and this time actually cost them the game. The Chargers have been looking for a win here in the recent times, and they will get it at home. They'll improve to 9-5. The Bucks will fall to a 500 record of 7-7.
Oh, and Dante, to answer your question, the two front runners I see for Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell and Mike Tomlin. I think those two are going to be the ones who are going to probably be in a running for it. Trying to think, the dark horse. You might see Sean McDermott as a dark horse. I don't think he'll win it. Andy Reid might be a dark horse. I don't see him being even nominated. But yeah, I think it's going to be Dan Campbell and Mike Tomlin. Those two. I think those are your coaches of the year. And you might see a couple who might say Nick Sirianni. I don't.
No.
I don't.
I will say Dan Campbell and Sean McDermott.
Yeah. But any of those three that we mentioned, I think, are good choices personally.
Or dark horse for NFC, Kevin O'Connell.
Maybe him.
Look at what he's doing with Sam Darnold. Come on now, like
That's the thing. But then again, they did this crap last year with Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco. Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And now the Sunday night game, which we both agree should not be the Sunday night game. It should be switched to the Bills and the Lions. The Seahawks at 8-5. They host the Packers at 9-4. NBC has this kick. 8:20 is when the opening kickoff will be. Who do you have in this one?
Yeah, one of these two teams is going to need Corinthians by the time this game's over, because this is going to not be as good as the 4:00 game we were just talking about a little while ago. They're going to need to pull up the Corinthians page, read that a little bit, make it feel a little bit better after they get served the big, fat, steaming, stinky son of a mother fathering button that I need to click, and I don't have it right here because they're going to take this. And the Seahawks will be the team.
They'll take this.
And the Seahawks will be the one to take it. The Packers will improve to 10-4. The Seahawks will regress to 8-6. Corinthians.
Oh, Lord. Thank you for the faux pas of me typing. Charge it to my brain and not my hands. Anyway, I agree with you. I think the Packers are the better team. I think the Seahawks, they've been smoke and mirroring their way to this point, and I think they'll see how they measure up, and they don't. I think the Packers, they could take a team that is like the that is like the Seahawks, and basically, as long as Jordan Love does not make mistakes, they can power their way through. And I see them winning as well. I see them improving to 10-4, and I wish this was not the Sunday night game, but it is.
I thought you were saying smoke and Mary Janing. at first before with the smoke and mirroring.
Lord have mercy.
That could be why they did the agency.
Oh, Lord. I'm in love with Mary Jane. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the end of the 2-minute drive.
Total football talk.
Yes, Christmas is around the corner, but we're not talking Christmas shopping. We're talking Snowflake of the Week. And for his, Drew, it's all yours.
I went off on this kid earlier, and I'm about to do it again right now. You played against the number 32 ranked defense in the NFL, not just in overall defense, not just in rushing defense, but in passing defense, which you should have been able to score at least one touchdown.
Wow.
Yet you didn't, because your name's Will Levis and you suck. You were 19 of 32 for 168 passing yards. Again, no touchdowns on the number 32 ranked NFL defense in the league, with your stupid look on your face on the left and you pointing to the Snowflake of the Week on the right. This is why I chose you as the Snowflake of the Week.
Oh my gosh. Yes, the man that I have dubbed the gift that keeps on giving on quarterback. Yeah, I cannot disagree with you there. Yeah, especially I almost wanted to say with a honorable mention to Calvin Ridley, needing 5 yards, you run a 3-yard out and you run out of bounds. You have 3 steps before you run out of bounds, but I digress. All right, now I'm going to probably race through one because I actually have two. One that is going to be pictured, one is not. But Mr. Drew Lock, you, sir, you are my Snowflake of the Week that I'm going to post simply because, yes, 21 of 49 for 227 yards and being whacked with the ball. That's part of it. Unfortunately, sir, you are a microcosm of how the team that you represent is. You are how the team is with the players. You are how the coaching staff is. You are how the front office is. You are how the ownership group is. It's to the point where you have Giants fans resembling to be Saints fan from back in the early 1980s. And for those who are unaware, picture a stadium where you had paper bags that were, they were decorated. I mean, you had beautiful white and black and gold bags of paper. And this seats about 70,000 people. And imagine about maybe half of them wearing paper bags and they call themselves the Aints. Well, you're starting to now see paper bags on Giants fans' faces. Either it's saying Aints or sell the team. And now, Mr. Locke, you represent the abysmal New York Jets. It is one of the worst franchises in the game today. And you should take a bow, sir, because you represent them well. Oh, and the honorable mention, Packers fan. You lost the game to the Lions. The NFL did not hand the game to the Lions because Jared Goff took a knee. What happened was he tripped over his offensive lineman. He fell to a knee and he handed the ball off. And you come in with the rule saying, well, if the quarterback knees right after he gets the snap, the play should be blown dead. It was not victory formation. It was a play. And if it's a play, normally you have to have a defender hit him or touch him on his way down or touch him when he's down. Since neither happened and he was not giving himself up, it was a regular play. So Packers fan that wants to say, we got the game Thursday robbed from us, you all take these. Now shut up and like it. Goodness gracious. Dummies.
Give me some cheese.
Total Football Talk.
As long as it's one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of episode number 67 of Total Football Talk with the post game. This is where we touch on our thoughts of the week that was past and maybe even give a portent of things to come. And with his final thoughts, Drew, the floor is yours, sir.
Definitely looking forward to how things shape up in week 15 that is coming up. You know, we only have 4 weeks left of the NFL season. It's wild to think that we have already gone through this much football, and it feels like literally the season just started a couple weeks ago. Like, this is for us to be at 67 episodes of this show. We got 15 episodes of extra. You know, this project has definitely been steamrolling, and we've had a lot of great football we've been able to talk about throughout the past 2 years. Definitely looking forward to seeing how things shape up for the final month of the season, and especially for our teams, as at this point, with 4 games remaining in the regular season, both of our teams not only have a chance to make the playoffs, but a chance to do a little damage in the playoffs if remaining healthy and playing like a sound-minded team. Now, overall, there are some teams that I'm looking forward to not talking about anymore once we get to these 4 weeks. Very similar to how things were when we were covering the UFL and the CFL before we got to the NFL season. And those teams are the following: the Giants, the Raiders, the Titans, and any team that I just cannot remember at this time, like the Browns, that currently suck. Because these are games that I do not enjoy covering right here and now at this point in the season. But we only got 4 more weeks left. We'll suck it up. We'll deal with it. Everything's going to be okay, because by the time we get to playoff football, we're going to be watching and covering teams that we truly enjoy talking about, because right now is just the hurdle we have to get over to get to that point in the season. Because it's getting colder outside, which means we're getting closer to the holidays and we're getting closer to better football. So everybody stay calm, drink your favorite drink, whether it's hot cocoa or a cup of orange juice or whatever it is you need out here to make yourself feel good, because just around the corner is good football. You know it and I know it. So stay ready. And that is all I got to say in this post game.
Oh, yes. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Oh, and Dante's throwing Jalen Hurts on the bus, calling him a snowflake. But yeah, love your thoughts.
He calls it the snowball of the week.
Snowball of the week. I had to laugh too. I was like, oh, snowball? That's kind of interesting. But yeah, I agree with you. 1 more month of covering teams that we really don't care about. And then when we get to mid-January, we'll actually talk about the teams we really care about. Yeah, I'm with you on that. If I'll mention another game of the Giants or the Jags, that'd be too soon. All right. Now, I think I'm going to go a little further on my Packers take. Reason being, you all seem to have this understanding that the NFL is rigged for whatever team seems to be doing well. I mean, we have now gone for 3 years now, and you all believe that the Chiefs, they benefit from refs calling games, and every Chiefs win, it is always accompanied with, well, you know who benefited them, the refs. The refs are on the Chiefs' side. We've heard that for 3 years. Now going on the 4th, thankfully, we've not heard as much, because it's been When is Travis Kelce going to put the ring on Taylor Swift? Thankfully, they're talking about something else about the Chiefs. But now it's the Lions. And the refs are in the Lions' pocket now. Oh my gosh. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this team 2 years ago one time one in what was it? 1-7? I mean, 2 years ago, this team was 1-7. And they had to go 1-6, and they had to go on an 8 out of 10 game winning streak just to actually have a favorable winning season. But this team that 2 years ago couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, much less get a W, now is in the it's in the ref's pocket because they are favorites, because they only have one loss in the season. It couldn't possibly be because they actually have put together a wonderful coaching staff, a wonderful system of players who actually believe in the head coach. And it couldn't be the front office that actually is doing something that we have never seen with the Lions, and actually make sound decisions with their staff and their players and their draft picks and some free agent pickups too. No, it couldn't possibly be that. It has to be because the refs are in the refs are fans of the team. Get out of here. Really? I mean, you all have to cry in your milk that hard, that much. And you have to come to the same tired excuses of, oh, this team's doing well because the NFL wants them to win. No. No, you're not going to get off that easily, especially Packers fan, because there has been many opportunities where you can have the thought process of, well, this team has Brett Favre, and then this team has Aaron Rodgers. Now this team has Jordan Love. You all have been successful the last 30 years, off and on. And you mean to tell me you're not thinking that the Packers have not benefited from refs calls or the NFL wanting them to win because people love to see them and people love to see you cheeseheads travel? That, you know what I mean? That thought hasn't crossed your mind? No, it hasn't crossed your mind because you think the Packers have earned every single win they've gotten, right? Well, keep that thought. But keep that thought with everybody else. And don't point the finger at refs or the shield saying that you took an L because the team got cheated. Your Lions didn't get cheated, but you're cheating us out of the experience of actually seeing a really good team put it together and find ways to win. Stop with the excuses. Appreciate what you see. Congratulate your divisional rival and go play more games. But stop playing this game of the referees or in the pockets of underlying the team that's doing well. No, not today.
As long as it's one. Oh, it's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Should also tell your coach to not look like an expletive when he's walking through the rain with his little hood up. We just talked about that a few weeks ago. Remember how the Packers head coach, Matt LaFleur, he looked like a snowflake, okay? And then Dan can't come cutting through. I'm the man. And they come through and they get the win. And then you have this game right here and they get the win again. And they're going to have a challenge this week against the Bills. But I can tell you one thing. He won't look like an expletive like Matt LaFleur did. And he definitely won't have excuses if they lose. They will take it on the chin like they did when they got their first one earlier this year.
Oh, Lord. No. Not when they actually played that game in Lambeau, and yeah, he looked like he was trying to be a wet version of Palpatine.
Yeah, but your excuse then it was raining too hard because I don't have George the Animal Kennel.
Meanwhile, all Campbell is armed with is a cap. I don't even think he was wearing a coat.
He did. He was wearing a coat, but it was like one of those fleece ones, and it wasn't looking like he needed it on. He probably wore it because the NFL told him, Dan, you need to have a jacket on. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, probably gotta have a jacket on. Well, other side, he took the message too clear because he looked like he had 3 coats underneath the raincoat that he had on. And he had zipped up with the hood pulled out. Just don't. Now I've opened up another can of worms.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh gosh. Yeah. Packers are giving me some gold for content lately. Any other thoughts that you have other than Matt LaFleur is a little bit of a snowflake himself before we let the tribe go?
I wish I could say more, but because of the other platforms that our show is shared to, I just can't do it. I cannot say what is really on my mind. There are so many expletives. There are so many beeps that would be happening. Had we do that to save editing time, I'm not going to do that. Just use your imagination. You know exactly where I'm going with this. But, for the 67th time, as always, in the words of a friend of ours, Kyle Nash, honor, joy, and privilege to be here with you yet again and to do this and to have, another great time, a great way to start our week talking football, getting up here on the interwebs, on the airwaves, whatever you want to call it. To those of you out there that are listening and watching, whether it's BS3 Network, Real Wise Radio, WQEE 99.1 FM, all of you out there that are listening, watching us, thank you so much for the support. We greatly appreciate it. Almost 2 full NFL seasons in, we're rocking and rolling, still having a great time with this thing. So if you could, as always, continue to show your support, like, share, and subscribe no matter which platform you're watching on, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we totally do. We totally do. And yes, thank you to Real Wise. Thank you to BS3. We appreciate both your networks, both of the audio variety and the visual one, as well as the radio partners that we have as well. We appreciate you. Definitely WQEE. We definitely appreciate you for basically being a day one. We totally appreciate you guys. And we appreciate all of you out there. Now, if you want to find any type of way to reach my brother Drew, all you have to do is go on the plethora of social media handles he has. Sotoba_media, for example, on Instagram, Sotoba_media on X, the _Sotoba on TikTok, and Sotoba Media to YouTube. And yes, knowing my brother, since Sotoba_media is being abandoned by a certain sect of people, he's not moving from there. And I don't want him to move from there either.
Who's abandoning it?
I won't go there here. And if you want to reach yours truly, all you have to do is go on to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. Well, we totally appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell as to getting all the content that comes from the Sotoba Media YouTube channel and the Comey Media YouTube channel. We both appreciate you and we love you. We love you, tribe. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say, in parting, as we always do, in life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And as always, you got to remember, and you got to play until the whistle blows.
And as always, stay safe out here in these mother-fathering streets.
We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
As long as it's